Okay, hi, my name is Denise, and I'm the host for the Team Phenomenal Hope. Your support group meeting is your support group meeting. Team Phenomenal Hope just hosted. It is all your meeting. And today we have the lovely Miss Denise Lewis, RN, PH nurse, who's going to give us some of the ins and outs of the navigating the ER, which I got to tell you, Denise, you had said something, I'll get into it later, that I actually had to go to the ER in December that I found very helpful and I used.
Oh, that's exciting.
Yeah. So we're going to get a few housekeeping things out the way first. I'm going to tell you about Team Phenomenal Hope Unmet Needs. I know a lot of you have heard it if you've been on the meetings before. Unmet Needs is Team Phenomenal Hope has a $500 grant that you can get annually. You don't pay it back. There's no credit check. We don't care what your income is. All you have to do is be a PH patient and have a need that's not medicine. You can't use it to pay medicine because that's illegal. But say it's winter. Say you want to buy a new coat. You want to buy new boots. You want to buy new clothes. Use it for that. You want to stock up on food. Use it for that. Your car broke down. Use it for that. You need to help paying your utilities, use it for that. So anything that's not medicine outside of like a trip to the Bahamas or something, you can use it for, okay? And it's open on the first business day of each month. It doesn't matter what your income is. All you have to do is have that need that goes outside your monthly budget, because we all have budgets. And if you have something that comes up and it's going to totally take you out of your budget, or if you have something that you could have come up that you really need, apply for that loan. You just basically, it takes 5 minutes to fill it out. And all it is your name, your address, your doctor's name, the phone number for your doctor, what type of pH you have, when would you diagnose. It's real quick. I mean, you know your information. Where do you get your prescription drugs from? If it's Joe's Corner Drugstore, put that down. If it's CVS, put that down. So that's, and you can find that on the website, Team Phenomenal Hope /unmet needs. And it's coming up and opening up again on Tuesday. So just so that you know, and maybe share it with somebody who you think might be interested in it. The second thing we have is Let Me Be Your Lungs. If you know someone who does cycling, marathons, triathlons, all those wonderful things I don't do, then that person can do it for you and symbolically be your lungs. And what happens is that they agree, Team Phenomenal Hope sets them up with their Facebook page, and they agree to accept donations that go directly to Team Phenomenal Hope, which goes directly into the Unmet Needs Fund. So it's all for us, the patients, just so that you know. So that is that. And that can be found on the website again, Team Phenomenal Hope /Let Me Be Your Lungs. It's the acronyms. Let L B M B be your Y lungs. L. So just look for that. I had to go through that. Put that down. I should have gone through that. Before we get started, and Ms. Denise presents what she is going to talk about, and it is highly interesting. I'd like to maybe go around the board, and if you could just give your first name and the type of pH you have, if you want to talk about when you were, if you want to say what year you were diagnosed, that's fine. If not, but what state you're from, because I'm interested to know what state people are from. And I can start. I'm Denise. I live in Brooklyn, New York. I have pulmonary hypertension secondary to left heart failure. I wear this oxygen because I have the heart failure. And I was diagnosed in 2012. And I'm going to go to Miss DJ's iPad. What is your first name?
Mary Lou.
Mary Lou, you told me that, but you know what?
That's okay.
Mary Lou, you want to introduce yourself?
I'm Mary Lou Wilwarding. Can you see my face? I don't know if there's a problem. Okay. Mary Lou Wilwarding. I live in Littleton, Colorado. And do you need address or phone number or anything like that?
Nope.
Okay. I was diagnosed last summer with pulmonary hypertension. I have the initial diagnosis in 2007 of interstitial lung disease with scleroderma. And I've been increasing my oxygen in the last couple years. I had cancer in the lungs, surgery in 2015, and had my left lower lobe removed at that time. And by the grace of God, haven't had it since. And I have had, it's just been a difficult road in many ways. There's many other things I could talk about, but anyhow, that's me.
Excellent. Wow, you've been through a lot. Thank you for sharing. Denise Robinson. I always want to say Richardson. And how long have I known you? I know, it's so bad. Denise Robinson.
I have pulmonary hypertension with COPD secondary, and I had it since 2008. Yes, and I live in Brooklyn.
Excellent. Kathleen Richardson.
Hello. I am presently in New York, upstate New York, Deposit, New York, actually. I'm staying with my parents to help them out, but I generally live in Winter Garden, Florida. So it's a bit chilly up here.
Yes.
And I was diagnosed with primary pulmonary hypertension in 2001.
Oh, you're a long-termer.
Yeah, 20 years.
20 years. Good for you. See, that gives people hope. Really does. Yeah. Marcel.
Hi.
Hi.
My name is Marcel Giddens. I live in Brooklyn, and I have pulmonary hypertension, and I was diagnosed in 2013. 2013, yeah.
You sure?
Yes.
I'm only kidding. Excellent. And you know what? Listening to everybody, it is a journey. It is a struggle. It is hard. We're right now we are so lucky. I have heard Denise speak before, and Denise is she's going to give her own little bio, but she is a PH nurse, and she's going to talk us through navigating the emergency room. And I have questions. So Denise Lewis, take it away.
All right. Well, good afternoon. Happy Saturday, everyone.
Hello.
Thank you
Happy
for
Saturday.
spending your time with me this afternoon.
You're welcome.
So my name is Denise Lewis. I am a pulmonary hypertension nurse here in Washington, D.C. at the George Washington University. I've been there about 3 years. I previously was a pulmonary hypertension nurse at Inova Fairfax, just about 15 minutes away in Northern Virginia. Ran that center for about 6 years, pretty well-oiled machine. Went to DC as it is a very underserved population of patients, and there was no official PH center. So a physician and I started a center there. So we've been doing that about 3 years. I love pulmonary hypertension. It's just something that, I don't know, it snatched me up, and this is where I've been, and this is where I want to be till the end, until we find a cure. So today we are going to talk about navigating that dreaded ER visit that everyone hates. And we'll touch a little bit on being prepared for like your office visits and, an extended hospital stay, be it that ER visit turns into an extended stay. I did a talk, which you probably can find on YouTube, which will be a little bit more detailed. I'll let you, because I don't want to bore you by doing the same exact thing, but you can probably watch it on YouTube. It's the ER talk from the PH Town Hall back in the summer. So we'll get started by, I guess we should talk about being prepared for our office visits, because I think people take that for granted a lot. You think I'm going in the office, no big deal. It's the usual visit. We'll do our testing. We'll do everything else. But there's a little bit more to it, because when you get in the office, there's a lot of things that have been going on in between that time when you're at home. So I like to tell you guys, either carry a list of your medications or bring your medications with you to your visit. Sometimes I know it can be burdensome because if you're on a lot of medications, who wants to drag their meds into the office visit? So just make sure you keep a detailed list and always update that list, because that is your lifeline. Because when you go to the ER, other places, it's good to have that list so people know what you're taking. I am a stickler about medications, and everybody picks at me about it. But like I've explained to someone, if you go somewhere, you could go to another doctor. You know, we all know PH is a rare disease. For us who do it, it doesn't seem rare because that's what we do and we know what we're doing. But other physicians don't know. And it's not a lack of education or anything, but it's an orphan disease. So they don't know that much about it. And you may be seeing someone else for something totally different. You want to make sure they know what you're taking so that they can treat whatever they're trying to treat without causing harm by mixing medications that shouldn't be mixed together, if that makes sense. So most important, keep that updated list of meds. If you have questions in between your last visit and your next visit, always write them down. It's not an issue of somebody having memory loss. We forget, we're all human. We are not computers and robots. We forget things. We think about it at that time and it's gone. Put it in your smartphone, write it on a notepad and carry that notepad with you, because those are things that you can ask when you're at your visit. Of course, if it's something urgent, you want to reach out to your team and address it. But if it's just, you know, a few things you want to talk about, maybe some travel that you're thinking about doing in the next year or so, anything, write that stuff down so you can address it at that visit. And my recommendation is a notebook or a notepad, because when you come to your visit, you can also take notes. What else is a good thing to remember when you come? If you're on oxygen, when you go to your doctor's visits, make sure you have enough oxygen for a round trip, because you never know what may happen. You know, it may be an issue. Different institutions have oxygen when you get there, some don't. So always make sure that you have enough oxygen for a round trip in case anything happens, traffic, power outages, anything like that. Make sure that you have someone with you if you need any kind of assistance. You know, don't try to struggle and get to your visit by yourself. If you know it's a lot, get a neighbor, friend, and if you have to bring someone, talk to the staff. I know right now it's kind of tough in some offices where they're only letting the patients come back, but you have to let them know, look, I have pulmonary hypertension. I need this person to come back with me to provide assistance, you know, as far as note taking, things like that. Any questions about your being prepared for your office visits? Routine visits? Everybody think we got that down? I think we do. I just think I like to stress about the questions and keeping that stuff, because as you're going along, things happen. Maybe you had some strange feeling that came and went. Write that down and talk about that, because when you come in, we always ask you how you feel. And, you know, most people are like, oh, I'm feeling okay. You know why? Because you're feeling okay that day. What about, you know, 3.5 weeks ago when you were like, for some apparent reason, I don't know, I had this weird chest pain that kind of came and went for 5 minutes. It's gone, you know. Write that stuff down and address that stuff. Don't let that stuff slip through the cracks. We always think about bringing up stuff that happens that's continued, but what about the little hiccups along the way? Because we know that you don't come in every week to see us, you know, it's a few months sometimes. And so now on to the dreaded ER visit that we hate, but they happen. We do our best to treat you all so you don't have to go to the hospital, but we know that things happen and you have to go. The best thing to do when you have to go is be prepared. I like to say, take a folder, a binder, whatever you want to be, an envelope. Make sure you always have something that has your insurance card, your PH provider's information, your pharmacy information, local pharmacy and specialty pharmacy information. If you're on oxygen, your oxygen company information, your medication list, emergency contact information. And if you have any advanced directives, have that as well. And if you're a person that likes to track your testing, I know some people like to take the 6-minute walks and compare them all the time. Keep a copy of some of your most recent testing, your echocardiogram, your walk test, PFTs, whatever it is you want. Always keep a copy of that. Keep that stuff together in a folder, a little plastic sleeve, a binder, whatever's easy for you. Update it as necessary, because when it's time to go to the ER, it's time to go. And that is going to be your saving grace to have, because you may be at a local ER in the community and not your ER at your PH center. Those documents will be so helpful, because when you get there, you can let them know, hey, I have pulmonary hypertension. This is my PH center's information. Please reach out to them, because we all know if it's not a PH center, some of the providers may know a little bit about PH, but they don't know you like your provider does. Mm-hmm. So they'll do the best they can to take care of you, but we want to let the PH center know, hey, I have your patient, because that's what we're here for. We provide guidance to the outside physicians until either you get transferred if necessary, or if it's something that's, just something simple, a gastroenteritis, something like that. We can provide guidance over the phone to them to take care of you and get you home and not do any harm to you. I like to tell people to keep a medical ID bracelet, necklace, whatever it is that's your preference. Have that so somebody knows you have pulmonary hypertension in the event that you're unresponsive. I talked about this in the previous talk. I'm not sure if anyone's heard of a road ID. So it's a website. You have, Kathleen? They're great. Yeah, they have all different kinds of items, and you can put whatever you want and customize it. They're an awesome little gadget to have, whether it's a bracelet, a shoe tag. They have all kinds of stuff. And I know the smartphones now are, I'm not that savvy with my phone, but I know the phones now have a little spot where you can provide your medical information, and the EMTs are able to get into your phone somehow and see that. So if you're savvy enough to do that, you can. Important thing, after hours contact information for your PH center. Make sure you know what that is. Because if you're in the ER at 2 a.m, when you call the office, you're not going to get anyone. But some places you can call the regular main line and it will roll over to the answer service and they'll get it. Or there's sometimes you have a separate after hours number you need to call to reach them. So I would make sure you always have that so you could provide that when you're in the emergency room. When you go to the ER, if you can, take your medications with you. This is because a lot of the emergency rooms, a lot of the outside hospitals that are not PH centers, they don't have the meds that you take in their hospital.
That is true.
We all know those meds are expensive. Mm-hmm. So they usually don't have them. I know sometimes things we're rushing, and that's okay if something happens and you're rushing to get out and you forget them. But just make sure you can call someone to bring you your meds. I had an instance where one of my patients kind of went into the ER and totally forgot. And he came to our ER, which is a PH center, but we all know he's on Tyvaso. We all know that's an individual device. So that's not going to be available when you get to the hospital. So you have to bring yours. But that's the thing, he was rushing and forgot. But luckily, the team reached out, called us, said he was there. I had his friend come and bring his Tyvaso device so that he wouldn't miss his meds. Because everybody's different. Some people can miss a day or two of meds, which we know you shouldn't, but it happens. And they're okay. Some miss a day and they feel it. And every time you have a setback, that's a new baseline for you. And now you're just trying to get back up there again. In the ER, let that provider know what your needs and wants are. Let them know about your pH, what kind of pH you have. If you're on IV Remodulin and you have that catheter in your chest, you let them know right away. Do not touch this line. Don't flush this line. Don't go trying to put meds in this line. No, no, no. If you have to pop somebody's hand, that's okay. Because we know that that can be a bad thing. I mean, I gave that example before. I had a patient at an outside hospital on sub-Q Remodulin, and she called and she said she had been off of her meds. And I said, why? They wouldn't let me hook it up. I said, put the phone down, hook yourself back up, and then pick the phone up. Well, they're going to come in here. I said, then you tell them to pick up the phone and talk to me. You know, and it's not about, you know, trying to tell them what to do, but if they don't understand, they don't know the importance of that medicine and what harm that could do from being off of that medicine. And I know sometimes people say, well, I told them and they didn't listen. Then you reach out to us, you call us, you have somebody advocating for you. You are your best advocate. We advocate for you as well, but you have to be the one. And it doesn't matter if you hurt somebody's feelings. They'll get over it. We want you alive. We don't want anything to happen to you just because somebody's not listening. So you make sure you make that phone call to your pH provider and you let that attending know to call your pH provider. I like to tell patients, if you feel like no one's listening, your needs aren't being met, you have the right to request a transfer. You have the right to refuse treatment. And it's not that you're refusing treatment because you just don't want it. But you all know your right side of your heart is what's struggling from this pulmonary hypertension. It's a very weak side of the heart on everyone. The left side is your workhorse. So when you come in the ER, what's the first thing they do? Hang a bag of fluids. Whoosh, there goes all the fluids. You guys can't do that. That is detrimental to your health. And sometimes you may say, I can't have those fluids. Oh, we'll give you a little bit. We know. No, I can't have those fluids. Do not give me those. I don't want them. You're going to damage me. Do not give me those fluids. You have the right to refuse treatment. And like I said, nobody's listening. Then you tell them, you know, I want to request a transfer to my pH center. And of course, this is if you're at an outside hospital. If you're at your own institution, that's usually an easy fix. You just keep requesting that your pH provider be contacted, and you contact them, they contact them, they'll get that together. This is mainly for like outside hospitals because yes, we want you to come to your pH center, but that's not always possible. I have patients that don't live nearby. I have patients live in other states. So I don't expect them when they need to go to the ER to try to get to me. I should trust that you can go to your local ER and they can contact us and we can coordinate your care and everything will be okay. Now, if you end up where you're at the hospital and you have to stay, that's where having either your meds with you or that list of meds is very important because you can show them what you're taking. You all can discuss what you're taking. If someone doesn't understand what it is, you can explain to them it's for your pulmonary hypertension. They can get the pharmacist on board. The pharmacist can look at those meds and see what they are. If they can get them, they can get them. If not, you can let them know I can have somebody bring my meds, and you are allowed to take your own meds if it is a medication that they don't have. I think having, making sure you have your phone, tablet, whatever devices you have, making sure you have those chargers there. The hospitals do have phones, but we know how that goes. And sometimes all your contacts are in your cell phones. Mm-hmm. Nobody remembers phone numbers anymore.
Right.
Sure.
We all were forced back then to have little tiny phone books we looked in, but then you remember those numbers, but you rarely dial them anymore. So you're in the hospital and you're like, oh gosh, I need to call somebody. I don't even have the number. And then if you need to provide a number to the team that's caring for you in that hospital, you know, you want to make sure you have something where you can give them that information. And I think that just the most important thing, communicate with your team. Communicate with your care team that you are in the hospital, everyone. If you have, you know, connective tissue disease, you make sure your PH team knows, your rheumatologist knows, everyone needs to know you were in the hospital, even if you just leave a message to let them know, because all that information will be transmitted, and you're going to also follow up with them and let them know once you're discharged. Because of course we know that's what happens when you leave. They say, follow up with the primary in 1 week. Like, what are they going to do?
This is true.
What else? I didn't want to make it too formal. I want to kind of talk to you guys, answer questions, see if you guys have any questions. I just think having some of that stuff and being prepared where you can grab and go when you need to is always great. So whether it's a binder, folder, I think having those documents ready somewhere where someone can get to them quickly is what's really helpful. I know, Lanice, you said you went to the ER in December.
What experience? I did. I went to the ER in December, and I had heard you talk earlier about the fluids, you know, rejecting the fluids. And I went, my doctor sent me from her office to the hospital because I was so swollen. She was afraid that I had blood clots in my legs. But like I said, the first thing they came in was intravenous. Now I'm already full of fluid, and they wanted to add more fluid to the fluid I already had. So I politely told them, no, we're not doing that. Look at my legs. Why would I want? Oh, but it's to keep you hydrated. Look at these legs. I should be hydrated like to the moon, these legs. So right. I was glad to know that. Also, you had made the statement about when you go to your appointment with other doctors, have your medicine and know your medicine and make sure those doctors do. I went to an eye appointment because I also have glaucoma. And my eye doctor had prescribed a medicine. I noticed the medicine wasn't really doing what they thought it was going to do. But I also noticed too, that I just seemed to be having so much more trouble breathing. Well, when I went to my pulmonologist, she said, do you know that this medicine is the last thing you need with lung disease? I was already, that medicine, because the eye doctor never looked, I found out she never looked at my chart as far as other things going on. She just concentrated on the eyes. So I ended up I hadn't been on asthma medicine in 20 years. I'm now back on asthma medicine because it did more damage to my lungs. So now I think that whenever I go to the doctors now, I'm like, okay, this is what I got going on. This, and this. Is there something in this medicine that is going to make it worse? And I learned that lesson the hard way.
You're like, is this okay I have pulmonary hypertension? Is this okay? And is this okay with my pH meds that I'm taking? Because we know, there's not 1,000 pH meds that somebody's taking. It won't take them but a second to try to look that up and make sure there's no interactions with your meds. But that's why I think it's important to plant that seed to know, hey, wait, let me make sure this is okay. Yeah.
I have another question. When I was in there, and first off, emergency rooms right now, especially with COVID and everything, are so crowded. And here in Brooklyn, when I went, it was like stretches 3 deep out in the hallway. And I was, there for my little issue. And all of a sudden I heard the guy, now it's little itty bitty little curtained off rooms. And this guy said, yeah, they think I got COVID. Well,
right.
What can we do is there anything we can do to protect ourselves, especially now going to the ER?
Yeah. I think the best thing to do when you come in is, make sure you have your mask on. If you can, N95, KN95, that's the best protection. If you have a cloth mask, when you get to the ER, ask them for a surgical mask. So you can put that underneath your cloth mask.
Oh, okay.
Because you wanna cover that area as much as possible. And when you go in, when you check in, you let them know, I have a lung disease. So please, if you can, don't put me somewhere with a COVID patient. Because I know people are, in the ER and they have two folks in a room, like you said, with just a curtain. They should be separating folks, but you never know. As people are being triaged and moved to the back, they're moved to the back and they're still waiting on the results. So, you want to make sure, don't put me with somebody that is under investigation for COVID. I know I'm here, and if you're there and you're not exhibiting signs of COVID, you might be there for something else. Just try to stay separated, try to stay where you're at, try to stay masked up, and just verify that you are COVID free and that you cannot be with someone that is COVID positive or a suspicion of being COVID positive, as you have a very fatal lung disease, and getting COVID will not be great. Yeah. COVID is not fun. I have done everything I could to not get COVID, but as a nurse, it happens, and I got COVID, and it was awful.
Wow.
And everybody said, oh, didn't you just feel like you had a cold since you vaxxed and boosted? And I said, I have asthma too. So no, I didn't feel like I had a cold. I thought I was going to cough my lung out. I mean, it was short-lived because of being vaccinated, but still, nobody wants to feel like crap.
Right.
True.
Yeah,
Okay.
and I think people forget, there's a few people say, well, with us healthcare workers, it's eventually going to happen. I said, yeah, but we still shouldn't let our guard down. And, you still need to try not to get it, because like I told him, my biggest fear is what's going to happen later.
Right.
I could be 5 years from now and can't figure out, well, I've got this abnormal growth somewhere. Oh, that's from you having COVID 5 years ago. It's like, no, I don't want it. Yeah. So I stress to just stay as safe as you can. Mask. The masks do work. I mean, for me, I have a 3-year-old who can't get vaccinated, and my 9-year-old is vaccinated, and that was my fear. That's why I would go work home, nothing else. And when I found out I was sick, I was like, well, do I go somewhere else? Well, I've already been in the house. But what we did was, we wore masks in the house. It was very difficult because for, 2 weeks, we were all wearing masks and in separate rooms. And if we came out, into a common area, everybody had on a mask. And it goes to show masks work. I mean, my husband had a KN95 on. I had mine on. And they stayed COVID free. My 9-year-old had gotten it from me earlier, but even with the two of us, my son and my husband didn't get COVID. They got tested and they stayed okay. So that's why I know masks do work.
Okay.
Yeah, they work.
You know what? I'm going to ask, who else is on oxygen besides me? Denise is, Mary Lewis, Marcellus. Okay. For me, I feel like there's just too much going on. We got the oxygen behind here. I got the glasses sitting on top of here. I have the mask sitting on top of everything else. And I mean, I'm definitely not taking off my mask, but it's and then I hear people say, I don't want to wear the mask. All they got is a little mask. But it's not easy. Not easy.
It's not.
Especially in the summer. In the wintertime, okay. In the summertime, it's hard because it's like you can't hardly breathe, but you don't have no choice. When I'm not around somebody, I'll take it off for a minute and get a little bit of air, then I'll put it back on. But it's hard in the summer. It's hard.
Yeah.
Because of that heat. And then, you know, with the oxygen, I said, oh my God, I feel like I'm suffocating. So
yeah,
when I'm not around nobody and I'm outside, I get a little air, breathe a little bit, put that sucker right back on.
Yeah, and I think when you're outdoors, that, you know, I think that's okay to do as long as there's not, you know, folks around. Because, you know, I heard somebody say, well, you don't have your mask on when you're outside. I said, well, I'm out in the open air and there's nobody, or, you know, there's no one by me. I'm walking down the street, somebody's not that close. And they're like, oh, but it's still in the air. And I'm like, if it was in the air, you know, this mask I have on, it still gets in there somehow. So if it was in the air, it's going to come in. It's just limited amount of air that gets through a mask, but there's still air that gets in our mask. So I don't, you know, that's not a bad thing to take a break outside and get you some air and just pace yourself.
Yeah.
You know, pace yourself. You might have to move a little slower than normal. And that's okay.
That is true.
That is okay, as long as you are moving.
Yeah.
So we don't want you to fall into not doing anything because you feel like I just can't do this. Take your time.
Kathleen, jump right on in there.
I was just wondering if you guys have used masks that go around your head rather than your ears, if that would help.
I never did.
You never did? Because I have masks that I got, and they're N95 masks, and they go around your head. There's like one that goes here and one that goes here. So I don't know if that would be more comfortable, maybe.
Honestly, I didn't know that N95s came like that.
Some of them do. The ones that I have, they do. I'll show you. I'll go get
the two straps. One strap that goes around this way, and then one over your head.
Where she got that from?
I have two different kinds. This one is more expensive than the other.
I didn't see her.
But it goes on, and you put it on and it goes over your head. Like so. So it's not around your ears.
I want one of those.
And then this one is the same kind. It's different. It looks funnier. You look like a duck.
I cannot see her.
But again, it goes around behind your head. And they're
N95s.
Yes, they both are.
Oh, I want one of those. Amazon?
Yeah, so this one is from Kimberly Clark.
Kimberly Clark.
Yep. Have you seen them? Yeah, Kimberly Clark. I got this like pretty early on. Trying to think when we started using them. It was after, you know how at first they didn't want people to use N95s because they weren't enough available for healthcare workers. But as soon as they had enough, these I found online, Kimberly Clark. And my brother found these, and I do not know. It looks like they're from China. But they are NIOSH approved.
Oh, they're NIOSH approved.
It's stamped right on there. But my brother found it. I don't know. This one is NIOSH also approved.
I'd probably say check Amazon. Also, you know, the second one you had, not the Kimberly Clark one.
Yeah.
The style that's made like that. I've seen some of those in the either Lowe's or Home Depot, I believe.
Yeah.
So you might want to check them too. I think people forget that Lowe's and Home Depot, you know, all the workers sometimes used to wear those when they're going like in attics and things like that.
Right. Yep.
That is phenomenal. I'm getting one of those because this whole thing here, my ears, I actually got a little rash or something.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Because it was just, never mind the hearing aids. I just have to
everything
say,
about.
Oh my gosh.
I can't. There's too much going on with the ears.
You need to get bigger ears now, I guess.
That's what it is. Mary Lou, do you have problems with the mask and the oxygen?
I do. I can't get enough air through those N95s. I've just started wearing them on a fairly routine basis. But I mean to tell you, I don't see it right here, but when I put it on, you know, it's over my ears, and I just cannot. I mean, I'll breathe through it for sure, but like when I'm walking or anything like that, I'm at 8 liters, and
Oh, wow.
and sometimes 10. I can't get enough air to
Yeah.
that.
It's a lot. It's hard to breathe through an N95, so I could see what that could be an issue. You can also try, since you can't get enough air through the N95, you can try double masking with the surgical mask.
Would that do better or worse?
I think you'll be able to breathe better, and it still provides protection. Because
does?
even us healthcare workers,
Yeah.
we're double masking if we don't have on an N95.
Okay. And that works pretty, you're feeling safe with that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's
Thank you.
95. I cannot wear it either.
Yeah, it's hard.
Yes, because as Denise said, I had it on with the glasses and everything. And I was just walking from my house to Nostrand until I get up to the street to the bus stop, to go to the bus stop. I had to stand up and hold on. I was like, I thought I was going to pass out. It had me ready. I did feel really, really, really bad. So a friend of mine that's working in the hospital told me I shouldn't wear those. It takes too much out of me, and it pulls a lot of oxygen. You don't feel like you're getting anything.
See, and that makes sense. Now, Denise, suppose somebody has, what is that thing called? Like, it's not like the cannula. It's that one that fits completely over your face.
Like the face mask for the oxygen?
Yes. What is that
the
thing called?
oxygen face mask?
Yes, it covers everything. Like if you were going on a plane, I use that on a plane. If the person wears that, do they still need a mask? Most people who are on that are not going to be traveling all over the world.
Right.
But I'm just saying, say they had to go to the doctors and they're on that type of whatever that face thing is called. Would they still need a mask?
Yep. They still should put a mask on top.
I don't even know if they make them anymore. I don't see them. The only time you see them is for kids.
No,
I haven't seen them. The oxygen face mask.
Yeah.
They still make them.
Oh, yeah. I haven't seen them in years.
Yeah. The thing is, most people that use a face mask are on a higher liter flow.
Oh.
I know some people like them because it's not in their nose, but I like to tell a lot of patients. I had a patient that was adamant, I want the face mask. I don't like it in my nose. And they were only on like 2 liters of oxygen. And I explained that when it's not a higher liter flow, you don't want to use a face mask because the oxygen, it's all trapped in that mask. You're not going to get it because it's not enough flow. So you need to use it on a higher liter flow.
Okay.
I see a lot of you ladies have glasses on that wear oxygen. I don't know if it's still around, but I had a patient that had OxyView. Have you ever heard of OxyView? So
it's hooked up to this some kind of way.
Yeah, their glasses and the cannulas are kind of wrapped around through here, so you really can't see it because she kept telling me she was on oxygen, and I was like, wait, I don't see it. And I was like, oh, it's in her glasses. Yeah, I don't know if they still make. Let me look it up and see.
They're not cheap.
Oh, they're not?
No, they're not cheap.
They're still expensive?
I met someone that had her glasses, and she said, I don't think I would do it again, is what she said.
Oh, no?
Yeah. I'm sure there was a reason, but
yeah.
I think, I don't know. I can't say why she mentioned that, I guess. But anyway, I'm not sure. Maybe you could look it up on Siri or find out some information too about it.
Yeah, so I see the website still. It's actually called oxyview.com.
Oxyview.
Mm-hmm. OXYVIEW. Oxyview.com.
Okay. Let me check them out. You know what, Denise, you had said something too about if we are at a smaller hospital or a different hospital than rather than the one we go to, that we have the right to request transport to our own hospital. If we do that, I'm thinking on insurance. Since we're already at a center that, would they pay for us to go to another hospital? Or if we say, no, I don't want to be here, I need to go back to where, you know, my doctors are.
They should be able, they should take care of that, because if you're at a small, what I like to call community hospital, and they can't meet your needs, then that's when you request that transfer. And then they have to actually, the way that it has to happen though, is that attending that's taking care of you needs to reach out to your center to request you being transferred there. So like we can't, like as your center, you may call us and say, hey, they're not taking care of me. I want to get out of here. We can't, even though you're our patient, we can't go, you know, fish you out from there. That's where it becomes a problem. Okay. So the attending needs to call your center and request a transfer, you know, if they can't care for you. And it should be covered, because if they don't have your meds and things like that to treat you, you know, what good are you doing? What good is the insurance doing paying a hospital that can't take care of you?
True.
There is that.
Yeah, so they can, you know, you can request a transfer, and what they'll do is just that hospital probably would have to say something like, they're usually good at doing that though, maybe for like escalation in care that they can't provide, but usually it's covered.
Have you seen a lot of cases where has the increase of issues with pulmonary hypertension risen with the increase of COVID?
I haven't seen too much personally where I am. I am glad that we've been able to, you know, keep most of our patients COVID free. I have had a few, they've made it, but it was tough. But for the most part, I think we've been able to manage exacerbations and things like that at home to keep you out of the hospital.
Oh my gosh. You know what? See, and that's like my biggest thing. I don't like the hospital. Kathleen, you've had this for 20 years.
Yes, I have.
How did you manage all this for 20 years?
Well, I had a very mild case when I was diagnosed. And the medication that they put me on, I was put on Tracleer and Procardia, and both of those have worked really well for me. So I have been doing really well all those years. I only had to use oxygen a couple times when I was sick early on, and then I haven't had to use it again since then. So I think I'm one of those like 6% of people who, you know, they get it and they do well on the medications for a long time.
Yeah. And like you said, they may have caught it early.
Yes, they did catch it early. They put me on it. I know that is really, I'm so thankful for that, because I've actually talked to other patients who the doctor, she remembered hearing them talk about pulmonary hypertension for her, but they never did anything about it. I think because they didn't think that there were treatments for it. And right. So I was diagnosed at the same time she was, but I got medication, and I met her about, I think it was 5 or 9 years, I can't remember which, after I was diagnosed. So all that time she wasn't diagnosed and was not getting any medication. So it progressed. Whereas for me, it did not progress. because of the medication.
Wow.
Wow.
So I feel really fortunate. I thank God all the time for that.
Yeah.
I wanted to say something about oxygen though, that I never thought of. One of my friends, she lives in Pennsylvania, and she wrote on Facebook about how she has pulmonary hypertension and she uses oxygen. She discovered that her portable concentrator did not filter, like it sucks air in to create the oxygen, right? And so she realized that she shouldn't be using that in places where she's like in public, because she could get COVID through her concentrator.
Can that happen?
Because
anything about that?
I have not.
So what she did was she got oxygen, she got canisters of oxygen so that she could go places. So that, I mean, then you're getting pure oxygen coming out of the canisters. And apparently there are concentrators that do filter it. So, because I think she had one at home that filters the air or whatever that comes, so you wouldn't get it. So I'm not sure, like I've only heard that from her, but I didn't know if that was an issue that people need to just check out. I don't really know.
That's a good thought, to check your portable, because there are different portables. So I could see where that's happened. The big home concentrators, they do have a filter on them.
Right.
So, but you're right. Like depending on the small portable one you have, it may not have a filter on it. And if you're in some enclosed place, you could be right. And somebody's
right.
next
You could be wearing a mask, but you're getting, So I didn't really know, but that was something that I had heard, and I wanted to bring that up, just in case that is an issue.
I think that's something
want to think of, at least look into anyway. It may not be a problem, but to look into, how does your concentrator
filter that air?
Filter the air. Yeah.
That's a good thought.
Wow.
Yeah, I like that.
I never thought about it. So yeah, like when she goes out now, she takes the smaller canisters of oxygen with her. Make sure she has enough.
Wow.
Well, the Inogen portable one has a
filter on it.
Yes.
Yeah.
It does.
Inogen? Yeah. What about the liquid oxygen? I imagine that would. Is anybody on liquid oxygen in those canisters? No?
We don't have liquid oxygen in our area anymore.
I've got a great big tank, in the garage that I refill my little canisters so I can get out and go to church or I don't go many places because of the COVID right now.
Yeah.
But, it still helps.
But that's good to have because you're on a higher liter flow. So it's great that you were still able to get that, because I tried to get it for a patient who uses like 8 liters.
Yeah, that's
because
true.
Those tanks, 8 liters, you're gonna blow through a big tank in 1 hour.
And
so
I know. Those
she's so restricted to going anywhere because nobody in our area provides liquid oxygen anymore, which would have helped her because it's easy to at least refill them, like you said.
Yes. So why is it not available in your area?
I don't know. They stopped. We had one oxygen company that provided it, and they stopped about 1.5 years, 2 years ago.
Was it Apria? Because Apria provides mine.
Ours was Roberts. They were the last ones to have it, and we have another company in the area, and they still provide it to patients who are their existing patients that already have it, but they were no longer starting any new patients on it.
Then Denise, where are you at? What area are you at?
I'm in Washington, D.C.
I see. Okay.
The nation's capital.
DC. What's that? Yeah.
The good old nation's capital.
You know what, Denise, what are your thoughts about patients and exercise with pulmonary hypertension?
That's a good question, because they want me to start, and I don't know if I have enough energy. What was your name again? What was your name? The
Right?
one with
Lenise.
Yes,
I think
Lenise.
oh, you're Lenise. Okay.
is
Yeah,
she
there's a
still
Denise Lenise. So
there? Exercise
Okay.
is a good thing. Pulmonary rehab, I can't stress enough. It is amazing.
But you have to start where you're at and start slowly. You know, it probably would be good to go to a rehab place so that they can like give you exercises that you can do rather than trying to do what somebody else does. Or
you can't just
you have
get on
to start off slowly and build it up.
Right. That's why we always recommend pulmonary rehab. Pulmonary rehab is great. They're there to monitor you, and then once you're done, they give you exercises that you can do at home on your own to maintain activity. As far as, I have a lot of patients who can't get to pulmonary rehab. So my recommendation is walking, just any movement, staying active, even walking. A lot of places are in there. A lot of folks are in their apartments and, just kind of making laps around in the apartment.
Wear out that carpet, wear out the floor.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because that's what keeps your lungs strong is movement, and all that, the movement and breathing.
Yeah.
It's what helps.
Boy, I tell you, it's a struggle because then you don't have enough energy to do other things. It seems like, it's like a playoff. I just, I really struggled keeping I know pulmonary therapy really helped before I got hypertension. You can't do that. But I can't. By walking around the house. So. Yeah, my husband keeps advising me over there with his wisdom, so, but yes, I really did. I got so much out of pulmonary therapy. And so even though I've maxed out my insurance benefit for that, I have an opportunity, I think, coming up that they're going to be able to get me back into a program instead of paying out of pocket for it again.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, I would get back into it. And then, once you've maxed out those visits, have them give you the exercises that you can do at home. Until then. And then work with them and see what kind of maintenance program they have.
Okay. Yeah, it's hard I'll tell you, the support that I got just from going to that twice a week, Tuesdays and Thursdays, it kept me motivated, and I really missed that. But with pulmonary hypertension, I can see how, sometimes you don't want to get up in the morning even. I mean, sometimes you have to really think about how much you can take on in a home, how much work you can do. You really can't, because you can't do the things you used to do.
Yeah.
So.
And then, for yourself, I have patients similar to you who have scleroderma, interstitial lung disease, the pulmonary hypertension. And it is a lot. It could be 3 hours just to get up and get ready.
Yeah, I know. When my daughter asked me once, what makes you happy? And I said, well, getting out of bed in the morning and getting dressed myself. And she thought that was rather comical. But, I don't think anybody has a clue how much energy it takes to even get dressed when you have this.
That's true.
Yeah, it's a lot.
So true.
And I like to go to the church across our street here. I've been very blessed to have our church here. And so walking over there, I figured, and back, that counts for something, doesn't it, Lennon?
Yes, that does.
Yes, that's good.
Yep, it does.
That's beautiful.
Absolutely. I'm looking at Rayetta. Rayetta, can you unmute yourself and say, introduce yourself?
Yeah, I'm Rayetta. I'm a co-leader for the Black Hill Support Group in South Dakota. And I find this meeting very interesting because I live in an area, I guess you consider it rural. And I have systemic scleroderma and PAH. and I have a really hard time getting the treatment. So I traveled to Denver, Colorado, and it makes it difficult.
Whoa,
Wow.
you live in South Dakota and you travel. How far is this?
It's a 6-hour drive.
Wow. That's a lot. A lot can happen during that time traveling.
Yes.
My Lord.
And there's not much between there and Denver. I mean, here in Denver, like I cross Wyoming and most of it is, you know, pretty much deserted ranch land. So if something would happen on the way, there's really no place to stop and get help.
Wow.
Oh, nice. Ooh,
Oh,
that made me feel sad.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
So you see the PH Center in Denver? You're
Yes.
followed there? Okay.
You probably go to National Jewish like I do.
I go to UC Health and Shoots.
Yes, that's great. Our National Jewish Respiratory Center is affiliated with that. They have doctors both places. They go back and forth. So, but
Yeah.
National Jewish Respiratory Center is just really top of the art. When they say they're the leading respiratory hospital in the nation, they really are. I mean, they're so good. But UC Health is right with them up there. You know, I mean, they're really comrades in arms as far as that is. So
this is, oh my God. You know what, Rayetta, though? Okay, now I have questions. What? Okay, South Dakota. If my high school 50 years ago geography is correct, how do you manage, as you say, being in a rural area? How do you manage emergencies, PH emergencies?
Well, the first time I had a PH emergency is when I was first diagnosed. I was having a lot of trouble breathing and everything. And that's the only time I really had the PH emergency. And I ended up in the hospital for about, I'd say about a week. And I haven't had any issues since then. What I've had, I've been able to go back and forth to Denver for.
Do you
I'm on Opsumit and Tadalafil. So.
Okay.
what
Do you do
want
a lot
again?
of,
I'm sorry.
she said
What was
Opsumit and Tadalafil.
Oh, okay.
Rayetta, do you do frequent telehealth visits with your providers?
I've only done like 2 during COVID. I've traveled most of the other times. We usually don't stop and go out to eat or anything. We usually try to get a motel with a little kitchenette in it or something so we can cook our own meals. So I try to stay out of the public as much as I can too.
Okay. So then you must definitely have a binder or a folder with all your information in it.
Yes, and a medical ID bracelet.
Excellent. And then I don't know, you said you're in South Dakota, so what's not too far? Well, Minnesota's far for you. Cold.
I'm not too far from Wyoming. Wyoming's like 20 minutes away, but it's every city I'm around is a small city. I live in Spearfish, which is considered a city here, but it's not very big.
Okay.
The closest city to me is Rapid City.
Is that Iowa? No.
No, that's in South Dakota too.
See, I failed you.
I'm not too far from Mount Rushmore.
Okay.
Oh, wow.
Okay.
Yeah. So.
Wow.
I think that is the only ones I know. Only PH Center. Yeah. Colorado, Minnesota, Iowa.
So Denise, maybe you need to go out there to North Dakota and start a clinic.
Yeah, it looks like it.
Yes.
We need to start looking at some, I appreciate that because I can take this information back and we can, try to investigate and see what other providers are in that area, maybe some of them or I'm at an academic institution, so it's a very expensive institution that I can't afford to send my children to. But we have lots of fellows and residents that come through, and that might be something interesting to look at as they're training.
Even at Rayetta, wherever Rayetta would have to go, like her local hospital, so maybe some people there can get some training in pulmonary hypertension.
Right.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. Like, we may need to look at something like that, or even as these residents and fellows are coming out of medical school, and trying to get established somewhere, and look out there, because they travel and go wherever they can get a job, they go.
We definitely need them up here. There was another PH person who is the leader, and she just recently moved to Colorado Springs to be closer to her doctors. And we have one other lady that is from Rapid City that attends our group. Other than that, it's real small up here. And we all three go to Denver.
How many people are in your group?
There's 3.
Hey, that's
the leader and another person. And the leader just moved to Colorado Springs. So
wow.
Now there's only 2 of us.
Hey, it says in the Bible where 2 or more are gathered. You good, your group.
Yeah.
Yep.
Right.
You know what? That's I honestly never thought, because I live here in New York, and pretty much we have, everything
everything is here. Yeah.
Everything is here. And like Mary was saying, we also go, I go to Mount Sinai, so that's National Jewish Center too. But I guess, honestly, in my mind, I was under the impression that PH centers were everywhere. Rayetta, you have opened up. So Denise, I mean, how many? There's not a whole bunch of centers.
So there are a few, but that area, yeah. I mean, I realized what Rayetta was saying when I talked to a friend of mine that is actually a PH provider in Arizona, and we were just having a discussion about Remodulin and sub-Q, IV, back and forth. And she has so much knowledge with sub-Q Remodulin, and she's tried all kinds of things to help with pain. And I was like, you must use a lot. And I discovered that her patients, where she's at in Arizona, she's like, I use it because a lot of my patients live out kind of in the desert of Arizona. And she said, so sometimes it's hours for them to get there. It's very hot. And so that helped me understand the same thing. Like, oh, people can't just get to their visit that easy.
Oh, yeah.
And so what Rayetta's saying, she's got a distance to go. And so we've got some work to do.
That is so
getting more
scary.
Yeah. Things have changed a lot though over, when I was first diagnosed and I lived in Central Florida, there was no place to go there, but my parents live here in New York. So, and I always came up here for the summer. So we found, I go to Columbia Presbyterian in New York City. That's that. And so like every year I would go see my doctor when I'm visiting my parents in the summer, and then when I'm visiting my parents in the winter, like for Christmas. And, I've been doing well enough now that I only see her once a year now, but, and now there's like 3 centers in Florida for pulmonary hypertension. So I could go there, and I do have somebody that I go to there, like every 6 months. So I go to Dr. Berman in the summer, and then Dr. Tarver in the winter. But I know because I didn't want to stop going to Dr. Berman's, and Dr. Tarver was fine with that. So
yeah. And that's what we do. We're all a PH family. We talk to patients, we talk to each other, we share information, because we share, you guys. I talk to other nurses, we share ideas, because like I told them, your patient could be my patient one day. It's not that I'm going to take them from you, but we might have to share them because they may spend time with family somewhere or travel somewhere and become ill on vacation, and we see them. So we all have to make sure we're this one team. So I think for Rayetta, I know you have a distance to go, and we've got some work to do on getting some centers or at least some providers out your way, but you're doing the right thing by at least being prepared and having your stuff, because there's always somebody that can get to you. You may have to go to like a small hospital in an emergency, but having your binder and stuff prepared will at least get somebody to you, you know, and get in touch with someone to get you taken care of. Yes.
I just recently had to switch doctors because my primary care doctor retired and he didn't know a thing. He misdiagnosed me at first. Now I'm in with a long-term palliative care doctor who accepted me. Usually she don't take patients unless they're 65 or more. And I'm going to be 57 next month. But she accepted me, and she has worked in 4 Mayo Clinic, I think somewhere around North Carolina or something. So she's familiar with some of the things I have.
Mm-hmm. And you know what else you should do, Rayetta? Have you ever looked at clinicaltrials.gov?
No, I haven't.
You should check that out because there's a lot of things happening right now with different trials with medications for pH. And, you know, depending on kind of where your pulmonary hypertension is, and if you don't mind being in a clinical trial, it's something worth it. It may be a drug that may help you feel better. And a lot of those trials, they cover your travel and all that stuff.
Wow.
That's good.
I was in a trial. I was in a trial for my liver, and I couldn't afford the medicine. The medicine, my copay for 6 months of this would have been $26,000 out of pocket.
Wow.
For 6 months.
Wow.
That's a car. And but because I was in that trial, I got that medicine, and it did what it was supposed to do. So I'm a big advocate of trials.
Yes. Yep. And there's some things going on right now. So take a look at that clinicaltrials.gov and see if you fit the criteria for some of the trials. And you know, there's some drugs coming out that are changing things.
Okay, thank you.
For everybody, if you have any, do you have any more questions for Denise?
No, she fill in almost everything. That was, I'm telling you, you are so great. God bless you.
Thank you,
Denise.
Absolutely.
Opened up my ideas so much of having a track of everything. Because you sometimes when you go to the doctor and he asks you what this medicine is for, what this is for, sometimes but it just slips and you forget. So that is a real good idea. Thank you so very much.
Yeah.
Excellent. And thank you all, because I have written down notes and I have learned things. That mask thing, I'm on that.
Yeah, that mask. Oh, yes. And thank you for the mask. And that mask is very good too.
Yes. And the information that was passed on about the filter and the oxygen. And Denise, thank you very much, because you saved me from having more fluid overload. And some of the things that you said, and you know, it's not like we haven't been in and out of hospitals, but the things that some of these things I just never ever heard of. I didn't know that I could request a transfer. And honestly, the after hours thing, I never ever thought about having a number for after hours. So I thank you all for sharing. Did you see it? I put my email address in the chat. Did it come through? Because I'm technically.
It did.
Yeah.
Okay.
There it is.
There it is. Okay. Denise at pulmonary hypertension. What the heck is it? What am I saying? Denise at teamphenomenalhope.org. Did I put .com or .org?
There's no hope on there. Is it Denise at teamphenomenal.com or Phenomenal Hope?
See, I told you. I did explain. TEAMPHENOMENI. You know what? It's hopeless.org. Okay.
Oh,
okay. Hopefully that Lenise at teamphenomenalhope.org and Rayetta.org.
okay.
O-R-G. Rayetta, please give me send me a quick email because I would like to talk to you about a couple of things. And
Okay.
oh my gosh, you ladies have been phenomenal. Thank you so
Yes,
much.
this has been great.
This has been great.
Yeah, I've enjoyed it a lot. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you. I
Denise,
appreciate
my
it.
darling. Well,
Well, I'm always here for any questions, but I know how that is. When you go to the ER, the thing for you guys is you're afraid. So everything else is going out the window. That's why I think if things are put together and you just grab that, or even if you forget it and you don't grab it, someone can go back home and get it. And you're not like, oh, go get my med list from here, this from there. Hey, grab that folder or that envelope that's in the kitchen drawer, or, if you keep it somewhere where they can get it once things settle down, because, you're treated outpatient. You don't want to go to the hospital. When you finally do go to the hospital, it's like, oh, Lord, what's going to happen? And everything else is gone.
and I love that take your medicine with you, because I actually had that happen. The hospital did not have one of the medicines I needed.
Yeah.
They did not. And I had to wait like a day or two to get it. And it was a miserable time, let me tell you.
Mm-hmm. And I think, as PH centers, you guys are used to, if you come to your center, they have your meds.
Yes.
But that's because we have them on formulary, but that's the norm for you. So you go to an outside hospital, you don't think, oh Lord, they don't have these meds. Half the time they look at you and they're like, what's that?
Yeah. Yes.
What are you taking that for? I had one call me before and they were like, I had a pharmacist call me before. I did a tadalafil prescription to a local pharmacy while the patient was waiting on mail order. And the pharmacist kept telling me that I gave this medication to a woman. And I said, I'm aware. And they're like, well, this is for erectile dysfunction. And you gave it to a woman. I said, yes, I gave it to a woman with pulmonary arterial hypertension. Thank you very much. That's why the dose is different than the erectile dysfunction. And I was like, something's wrong here.
That's sad from a pharmacist. That is sad from a pharmacist.
Yeah.
That's all I can say.
Some of them, they don't know everything.
Mm-hmm.
They don't.
Yeah.
I think only God knows everything.
Only God. So we got to pray and take it.
Yeah, that's why I say you try to be as prepared as you can, and you are your best advocate. I will never stop saying that. You are your best advocate, and it's not about, wanting to be quiet because you don't want to tell somebody what to do. You have to take care of yourself, and this disease most of the time. You're living with this every day. Mm-hmm. And I've told somebody that I said, these PH patients could tell us more about their disease than we know half the time, because you live this every day. Mm-hmm. So we as healthcare professionals have to listen to the patient. I know that doesn't happen a lot, but it's about listening to the patient, especially when you have a rare disease like this.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Listen to the patient.
Absolutely. And stand up for yourself. But thank you all for attending. And Denise, thank you.
Thank you.
Yes.
And we're going to have another meeting in March. And that meeting is going March. And that meeting is going to be on insurance.
Hey.
The dreaded insurance.
The dreaded insurance.
Dreaded insurance. Thank you all for chiming in. Please feel free to use that correct email that I sent out to call to email me about anything. If you want to call me, just email me, say, hey, here's my number, and I will call you back. And if I can't get an answer or get something for you, I know where Denise is because I got her contact information.
Yeah.
So thank you all very, very much for attending.
You all stay safe